tuning in to BP Ensembles. You have time to support a small business. I am your creator and host, BP Harris, and I'm sitting here with one of my great talented homies. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Go by the name Isiah, thought poet Vinay.
So, tell us about your business. You've been doing some great things, especially during this pandemic. Tell us about everything you've been doing and how you got started.
Working with True Star Magazine, After School Matters, stuff like that. Being around young Chicago authors, that kind of catapulted me into like music journalism. So, learning about Chance the Rapper, Lily K, Tink, and then kind of getting more into Expenzo, D-Lo, Jersey. So, really, I would say kind of since the beginning, my artwork has always been centered around Chicago. And so once I started doing more organizing work, going back to like 5 years now, working with like Black Youth Project 100, the Let Us Breathe Collective. I just kind of really started centering my photography more on just like the Black experience and kind of just what does it mean to be Black, and I guess specifically from Chicago. So it's like majority of the time when you see my photos that they're coming from, West Inglewood or just somewhere out south. And so I would say that was probably like the biggest like boost of how I got into my business, is just really having a love for like the Chicago creativity that's here. So
That is dope. Like, you have done a lot of great things. You're not even 30.
yeah, I will be 30 this upcoming September. So yeah, I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you.
Nice. So, when did you officially start your business?
I would say officially, I think it was probably, I want to say 2013. So this was right after I stopped working for the Lyrical Lab, which was owned by True Star Magazine. And so again, like my big inspiration was music journalism. So that also came with music photography. And so because my grandma had me into the arts since I was a kid, once I stopped doing music journalism as much, that kind of seemed to only be the next thing. So if you're familiar with Tip Fest, Teens in the Park,
Mm-hmm.
so the Park District, I think that was kind of like my first like official day. I would say that was my first official day, like as a business, mentally, I thought. So yeah.
So like when you started that, what are some things that you noticed, or even now that you notice, like what are your biggest struggles? Like, you do a lot of activist work, like you're not just a photographer, like your work tells stories, not just of what you're seeing and what you've experienced in Chicago, but you tell other people's stories, and it's very moving, very powerful. Like, we've been cool for a minute. I've always engaged on your stuff.
Appreciate it.
What are your struggles like with all of that?
To be honest with you, I don't really think about the struggles. To be honest, as of late, because I get, like you said, like a lot of my work is dealing with like organizing. I would say I would say the struggles I do have is probably more mental than anything. So more so just making sure that I'm putting out the right content. Especially identifying as a Black cis hetero man, like that's something that especially because the youth are looking at a lot of like the folks that are in the city right now that have quote unquote been older organizers, or like they have knowledge of like the Chicago community. And so people relating to my work, what I'm saying, like it's still funny only because like I very much so have been doing and saying the same shit for like years. So like I guess being stoic or like having a way with words. And I think it's funny like now because of like COVID and the protests that have been taking place. It's just interesting seeing people take my words in now. Also with like taking on the fact that I'm still processing getting my ass whipped and arrested by Chicago police in this past May. And so dealing with abusive relationships. I definitely would say mentally I carry a lot, but I think that my work is actually making an impact on people right here and now. I would say those are some of the struggles that mentally I work with on a daily basis. So.
So, like, you brought up COVID and you brought up, and you have done a lot, like with the protests, you have constantly been out there. And unfortunately, you had the negative experience as far as getting arrested for doing the right thing, for doing the righteous thing, the things that we need, especially for our people. So, would you mind, like, touching on that a little bit? Because I think it's very inspiring, everything that you've been through and the fact that it's still keeping you going. Like, some people, I feel down, especially going through with the pandemic and people being depressed and just lost focus, lost hope, but you are still out there, you still fighting, like you still going, even though you've hit some hard bumps. So how have you kept that going during this pandemic?
I think one of the ways I've been able to keep up with just what I've been doing as of lately has been kind of just uh, realizing that I think for one, there aren't people that are really telling the stories that are needed to be told right now. Like for an example, Lori Lightfoot had the vice president in the city yesterday, and there were literally organizers, youth organizers, at the meeting, and Lightfoot cut the meeting short, to the point where like they didn't even show up, and it had a whole another meeting all the way across town. You see what I'm saying? So it's like people wouldn't know that if myself and other people that are like documenting and organizing are not out here, as people would say, making a fuss or making a scene in the streets. And so yeah, I think that helps me a lot. That helps me knowing that what I am documenting, um, I don't consider it news. I consider it an experience. You know what I'm saying? Black and brown folks literally are like underserved in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like Lori Lightfoot just spent $280 million of COVID relief funds on the Chicago police, on top of the $2 billion that has been spent on the police since the beginning of 2020 alone. You know what I mean? So it's like that when you think when you think about those numbers and you think about like, damn, like I am one person. You know what I'm saying? So like, how am I like gonna like do anything? And for me, it's kind of like you do what you can. And so, you know, my photos, I feel like that says anything before I can. I feel like even before I got arrested, my photos did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And so, um, yeah, I think the position that I am in, um, I would, yeah, I just kind of go with the flow. But I think most importantly, making sure that it stays true to what the original point is, which is that the police need to be abolished and Mayor Lightfoot needs to step down as mayor.
Sometimes we have conversations amongst our friends and our family, and that's stuff that we want to know, but we don't have the opportunity to know. And I mean, we know how the news is. They're not going to tell us everything. They're just going to tell us what, like, basically, like, oh, this drama happened in Chicago, but everything's okay. But it's not talking about the decisions that affects us, just like a lot of things that you just said.
Yeah.
So, since you are one of the lucky people who are in these rooms, who gets to share this information for people like me and other people who are trying to do things, especially for youth, and you're able to get this information to tell us, like, what makes you stand out outside of that? Like, what makes you stand out to the point that you are in these rooms, that you are on newspaper, magazine covers and stuff, that you just get to, you're selected to be there, unlike everyone else who's steady trying, steady working hard, and just can't seem to get there.
The first protest that kind of kicked everything off last year, like I said, I kind of saw how the city reacted to everything. I saw how the mayor reacted to folks, calling for accountability. And I also saw how the police treated folks. And this was before I even got arrested. And so um, I just kind of, I was upset. I was pissed off because it's something different about hearing about these things and then actually seeing it. So it's something different about being told that, like, you got to see 3 or 4 police officers beat the shit out of a person and arrest them and use like deadly force as opposed to actually seeing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you from the hood, like seeing someone get shot, like seeing someone or actually hearing about it, like it's still trauma, but it's still two completely like it's just two different things, right? And so yeah, I just kind of went on social media. The only thing I felt I could hop on at the time, and I just talked about it. And I wasn't expecting nothing from it. You know what I mean? It was more so like, this is what happened. The news had no idea what was going on, and like if you pay attention to like the to social media, it's literally the same things. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, being a person that quote unquote is starting to be looked at as a person that kind of knows what's going on, is like yes and no. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like I'm doing legit the same thing anyone else could. It's just a matter of, I guess, the passion, and I think that could be related to anything. Is like the passion connected to it. So
That is so true. Passion is everything. And like just like you said, accountability and just certain things sometimes, and I'm pretty sure you felt this way with certain people as you've been working. They're like steady out there, they're steady get to know things that you don't know, but you the one who need to know because you're actually going to do the righteous thing by that information versus it's always others being called who are not. So, but passion is like you said, it's great. It gets you there because it's your heart that people see, that people feel, that they catch the vibe to. Not so much your words, not so much of whatever portfolio you may put out in front of them, or even so much sometimes what you post on social media. But it's just the vibes that you give and the generosity that you have, and you definitely have that.
appreciate it.
So with all of that, you definitely are going places. Like everything that you're working on is longevity and everything that you touch. So what are some goals that you have for like 5, 10 years, like your lifelong goals with what you do?
My grandma, she raised me on a lot of the art that I'm a part of, and so one of the things that I feel like I've been experiencing in the last year is that a lot of the Chicago resources that it takes to even quote unquote be a creative or be an organizer or be something that is not quote unquote the normal no longer exist, right? So young Chicago authors is trying to figure out their foundation and how they're not being problematic, and also causing harm to people over years and years. You know what I'm saying? You got other institutions where folks have stepped down because they have really been irresponsible with the lives of black and brown folks. You know what I'm saying? And so slowly but surely, like quote unquote, who says who gets to be what in this city is changing, and it's slowly but surely not being so guarded by white gatekeepers. You know what I'm saying? So I think in that is one of the first things I want to work on is just continuing to build foundations for folks in the city. So creating a gallery is one of my first objectives I want to continue working on. Just continuing to like teach black men or mask identifying men what does it mean to not be problematic and how not to be harmful. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, especially because of my last relationship, I have learned a lot on what it means to learn, unlearn, and relearn something. And I feel like most black men aren't even like we don't get a chance to really explore that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would be something that I would continue to work on. But all of it would be tied together with just like the art. You know what I'm saying? So like when you think about organizing, when you think about what I'm saying, just anything like it is an art form. You know what I mean? So my goal would be to continue making sure that youth are able to have those resources. So making sure that there are still open mics in the city, making sure that there are programs that you can go to while they're still in CPS. As they're coming up, where they can actually continue to be like, okay, I might not want to rap, so I might not want to be a model, but I can actually get into something that's really dope, like coding or something like that. You feel me? Like the youth that are actually coming up now are like really like just dictating what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like Young Chicago Authors was held accountable because of the youth right here and now that are like fighting to make sure that the mayor hears that they should not be in school if it's not safe for them. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's my thing, is just to continue trying to be a resource by helping create more resources for this city. You know what I'm saying? Because I truly feel like in the next 5 years, 5, 10 years, like we truly could be like a New York or like Atlanta, where it's like you just continuously hearing about Chicago artists, Chicago graphic designer, Chicago footworker, like just Chicago everything. You feel me? And it's like it's because the foundations that are building these, innovative people, it started from somewhere. So yeah.
So I think it's fair to say that everything that you're doing, the work, the passion, the grit, and the grind that you have is for youth. It's about youth. I feel like you are, I mean, that's where you and I connect. Like we learn what we learn to pass down to those coming behind us so that they can have an easier path than what we have experienced. So with that being said, what are things that you tell you to inspire them? I mean, I can only imagine how youth are feeling. Like I could not imagine not having the childhood that I had in this time. Like you stuck on the computer all day learning. You can't go play with your friends. Like you can't go to museums. You can't travel. It's a lot of you can't do. And we were able to do all of that freely. All we needed was permission from our parent or guardian. That's it. But now they have disease, well, a pandemic, illness, man-made illness stopping them from being kids, and now they are forced to be adults in the time that we're living in. So what are some things that you do? What are advice that you pass down to them to keep them hopeful that they still have a promising future even through all of this?
I think, uh, and I mean, I know I've been like trying to learn a lot about like self healing and like what healing actually means, and so I know as of lately, I've been getting into like the part of like self healing or healing where like people don't really tell you about. So like you really have to like figure out who exactly are your friends, or like who you can actually trust, or like who you can actually be around that is like productive to you. You know what I'm saying? And so I know I'm still learning that. And so I know as a child or as a teenager, or as someone that's experiencing all of this, it's like, okay, where do I even begin to try and find myself in all of this? And honestly, I would just say, just screw the logical, continue to dream. That's like my like I don't. I'm pretty sure that's mine. I don't think I've heard that from anywhere else. But like, truthfully, so it's like you really can dictate what happens if you really just put the passion in it. And I think what's crazy is like, after I got arrested, I was really scared to go back out and even be at protest or even shoot at one point, because it's a different feeling being afraid of like walking home, like when people be like, oh, black on black crime or like hood crime or something like that. It's a different feeling being afraid of police, like to the point where like when cars drive past, when cop cars drive past, like you are afraid if they're gonna just like clip that curb and like just like confront you. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's the youth, honestly, that are like out here every day. Um, that kind of like made me or right reminded me what my part is in all of this. Because it's like they've gotten pepper sprayed, they've gotten their teeth knocked out at protests. You know what I'm saying? They've been arrested, damn near worse than I have. A lot of them are fighting cases right now with the police because they claim that one of them hit them with a skateboard when there's actual footage of that kid getting his ass whooped. And yet they still keep coming. They still keep popping up to these protests. Give it another 5 years, like I will be one of those like old guys for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? And so my thing is not to create some type of boundary for them. You know what I'm saying? Like my thing is to continue working with them. Like for an example, the kid from Pilsen, who's actually a really awesome organizer and has helped with the Chicago hunger strike. Is actually in honor of trying to stop the permit that is going to basically put two CPS schools in danger as far as like oxygen and stuff like that. Yeah, like having conversations with people like him and them literally telling me like, you inspire me, or like your photos, or like I look up to you, and I'm just like, I never met you, bro. Like I met you on social media, you feel me? But I'm realizing like, especially with this pandemic, is like this is how people are like seeking some type of inspiration or some type of like, guidance or some type of this like word that is different than what they're hearing from around them all the time. And so yeah, I do take pride in the fact that my words and my photography do inspire people. And so I think that's the one thing I would want them to learn. youth is find that inspiration and find that passion, and that is what's gonna make your business go far. Because it's like you can put together a team, but if that passion's not in that team, then it's gonna crumble, and it always does. So yeah, I would say the passion and the inspiration.
That is so true. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. But I definitely appreciate your time in this conversation.
Appreciate it.
I've definitely learned. 'Cause, you know, you and I talk. We get to talking about all types of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been good just to be able to find out more and just, like I said, just learning more about your grit and grind for your work. So I mean, you always know I'm a fan. How I can support, like, you know, you got me forever. But like, where can people find you? Because I really want people to be able to look you up and they see what I see when I look in your Instagram and Facebook and stuff. So where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at thoughtpoet77, Twitter thought_poet77, Facebook Isiah Thought Poet Brown. No, excuse me, Isiah Thought Poet Vinay. And my website is thoughtpoetsopinion.com. And yeah, I think any of those sites you can see what I've been up to. Right now we have a fundraiser going on where any and all of the funds are going to the Black Village Foundation. So it's basically like helping with like mutual aid funds and things like that that youth are needing like in this very moment around the city. And so if you buy one of my photos through the website, it kind of gives you like a timeline from literally the beginning of the George Floyd protests pretty much up until the end of 2020. And we're also like adding more content like every day. So
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of content from May of 2020 to December. It's so much. I feel like it would take years to actually put everything that transpired. It's still shocking that we witnessed what we witnessed, and now watching Derek's trial and everything is crazy. Yeah. So definitely, you all check his website out. Like, I know you all got inspired, and I know y'all want to see what we talking about with the stories that he posts on his social media pages and his website. So definitely check out. You want to tell them your website one more time? Yeah, it's thoughtpoetsopinion.com. Yeah, pretty much everything I'm working on as of late is on there. Yeah. And as always, BP Ensemble always has everyone that we interview. We always have their Instagram link. So you definitely can find him on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all platforms, BP Ensemble. So you can check out where we're tagging him and you can check out his work. So I just want to say thank you again so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching.